Hi everybody, Coach Allison back with week 9, Defy Aging. This week we have one circuit of 6 exercises. We're going to run through that for 4 rounds. Rounds 1 and 2 are going to be timed a little differently than rounds 3 and 4. We're going to we're going to swap your work and rest time. Rounds 1 and 2, you are going to be timed 40 seconds on, 30 seconds off. And then rounds 3 and 4, you're going to be timed 30 seconds on, 40 seconds off. So you get a little more rest time for those final 2 rounds. And then, of course, we'll have a little team builder at the end, something kind of fun. So let's review what our stations are going to be for the week. Station 1 is a half kneeling pull-off press. This is typically done standing up, but we're going to add that half kneeling component to add a little more stability control with this. So I have a band kind of anchored to our rack over there. And you'll probably want a mat set up here as well. You start with it out far enough that if there's a little bit of tension here, not too much, but we just don't want it to be loose, you're going to be in our half kneel position. The knee that's down is the knee that's inside, so the knee that's closest to the rack, closest to the anchor point. Start the handle at your chest, shoulders down, so we don't want to do any shrugging, and we press the handle out and release it back in. The farther out you get your hands, ideally we go a full extension. So turn to the side, don't do this way, but full extension like this. The farther you go out, that's when you're going to feel more of an urge to want to shrug. So try to avoid that. So we want to avoid the urge to want to shrug up like this. So keep those shoulders down, tall posture so we're not slumping or leaning forward. Nice and slow and steady, so we're not going for speed here. If it's feeling a little easier, not feeling any challenge on this side of your body, just kind of scoot on out a little farther, add some more tension to that band, then you should feel a little more challenge. We're not going to worry about changing sides halfway through. We're going to do all of one round on one side and all of the second round on the other side. There's 4 rounds, so that way you don't have to worry about it's kind of cumbersome to change sides in the middle, right? So 1 full round on the right side, 1 full round on the left side, and so on. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's do a quick alternative to the floor, right? For anyone that's not going to be on the floor, you can do that same thing standing. You can do a staggered stance like this to add that stability component if you're standing. And if that feels a little unstable, turn it to a standard normal stance, no stagger. The most important thing with any of the options you choose is we're just not shrugging those shoulders. Okay, but again, staggered stance would look like this. There's a soft bend in the knees. There we go. Almost left out those options. Can't do that. So we have all sorts of options. That's our half kneel pull-off press. Next up, we have an alternating thruster. So we do thrusters quite often, but we're going to do an alternating variety this week. So weights up at the shoulders, not resting on them, but just hovering slightly above them. I want you to keep your palms, or not your palms, but your fingers level with the floor. So we're not going to let the weight start to slip like this. We're going to keep them like this. Go into a standard squat, okay? And that's where the weights might want to fall here. So keep them here. As you come up, we're going to press one arm, squat, press the other. So we're going to alternate the pressing arm with each squat. Again, what really wants to happen is this. And those weights want to kind of fall. So it takes a lot of shoulder and core strength to keep those hands here as opposed to letting them start to fall down here. So focus on that. Might need to go down in the weight, and that's just fine. A lot of shoulder strength here. So that's our alternating thruster. Our next station is a rocking hip bridge. So we're on the floor, knees bent. Don't tuck the heels in too far, so put them out a little bit. All right. On the floor with the arms, we're going to lift the palms, face the palms up, and that's just actually shoulder safety, even though the shoulders have nothing to do with this exercise. We just want to retract those shoulders, and putting the palms up helps with that. We're going to lift the hips into an isometric hip bridge, so the hips stay here the whole time. We're going to rock forward and back on the toes and the heels. So we're going to lift the toes, go onto the heels, and then lift the heels and go out of the toes. We're going to do this slow and controlled. So we're walking back and forth between the toes and the heels. The whole time I'm keeping these hips up, so watch out for the hips starting to maybe sink down as your hips and your glutes and your hamstrings get tired. Keep those hips up, and notice my feet are continually rocking from heels to toes in a controlled fashion. Okay, for anyone staying off the floor, it's going to be a slightly different muscle focus. Minimally, it's all lower body, so we have that. But the alternative is going to be a rocking wall sit. It is going to be a little more of a quad focus, but there will be some of the rear focus, the posterior focus as well. So you're going to sink into a wall sit. Again, make sure with any wall sit variety, or there is only one kind of wall sit, but if you're doing anything in the wall sit, make sure the feet are at least under the knees or slightly in front, but never behind the knee like this, okay? So sink into your wall sit as low as you're able to hold it, and do that same thing. Slightly lift the heels, and then slightly lift the toes. It is going to be more, you're going to feel it more in the quads compared to those doing the floor exercises much more back here, but still getting that rocking motion, kind of activating the shins and the calves differently. Okay, but that is our rocking hip bridge station. Next up, we have an iso bird dog. So that's an isometric bird dog, meaning you're going into bird dog, but you're holding it instead of continually alternating sides or moving. We are going to switch sides halfway through the set on this one, as opposed to that Palloff press where we're going to do the whole set on one side and then switch for the second round. And that's because I just think holding one side of this for the full 30 or the full 40 seconds would just be too long. So it's very easy to switch sides. So for bird dog, you're in this quadruped position, so hands and knees. Make sure your back is nice and flat, so we're not overly arching, but we're not letting it round. So just a nice flat spine. Neutral neck, so keep looking right down at the floor in front of you, so we're not cranking the neck up or drooping it too far down. Pick one side to start, and you're going to lift the leg up and back, and the opposite arm forward. A lot of balance here, so if you feel a little tippy, that's okay. Find the balance as best you can and hold it. Try to get the leg and arm parallel to the floor if you can. So if we're down here, if that's your, where you're at now, that's fine. Work on that strengthening to lift them up a little bit. Your coach will let you know when it's halfway through the set. At the halfway point, you'll switch sides. And we're gonna hold it still for half of the set on each side. Anyone staying off the floor, we're going to do an incline bird dog. It's really the same. You have, instead of being on all fours in the hands and knees, you're on hands and feet. So soft bend in the knees. So I'm just not locking my knees. Soft bend, though, doesn't mean, like this. It just means, I don't know if you can even see how minimal the bend is in my knees. It's just not this. Still with the neutral neck. Everything's the same. Hold this for half the time, and then hold this for half the time. That just keeps you off the floor. So if there's anyone that's unable to get to the floor, we've got you covered. That's our iso bird dog. Okay, next station, single arm farmer's carry. I think if anyone's brand new, might not be familiar with this one, but longer participants definitely are familiar. We got a kettlebell. We want a kettlebell for this one. And notice how right now, if I'm not thinking about it, you see the difference in my shoulders. I'm letting this shoulder kind of sink down. I'm letting this weight sort of take control. So we want to avoid that, first of all, when we're holding weight on one side. So I'm going to sort of balance that out, but don't go too far. So doing this one around a mirror is very helpful. When you have a mirror, you can sort of make sure you're nice and level. Once you have that, shoulders, show you the side with the weight. Shoulders back and down, proud chest, so we're not kind of caved in with the chest and slumping in the back. Okay, we want that posture, all those good cues. Once they're all in place, we go for a walk. It doesn't have to be slow motion by any means, but we're certainly not going for speed. So whatever is a comfortable yet controlled speed for you is just fine. Your coach will have a designated route planned out for this station. Just loop around. We're just walking forward. We're not going to do anything fancy going backwards. Yeah. Oh, and you want to try to keep the kettlebell relatively still. So you want to look out for any of this. Pretend you have a bucket full of water, trying to not let any of that water spill. And we're going to do round 1 on one arm, round 2 on the other arm, and like our Palloff press station, just continue the whole set on one arm. That way you don't have to worry about wasting any time switching sides and losing a few seconds that way. So pick a nice challenging weight. This one, you're not, lifting it like this. You're not going to do bicep curl with it. You're not squatting it. You're holding it. Dead weight. So pick a nice challenging weight. You can go as slow as you need to. So let this be your opportunity to maybe pick up that nice heavy kettlebell and give it a try. If it's too heavy, put it down and grab something lighter. So this is your opportunity to maybe try that next weight kettlebell. So single arm farmer's carry. All right, last station is going to be our cardio station. I was trying to get really creative, so here's what I came up with. We're going to give it a try. It might be new, it might be out there. Jumping jacks. Maybe I had you going, I don't know. Oldie but a goodie, jumping jacks. So I know we had them last week. Full arm swings, so we're trying to avoid, puny little arms. Get those arms moving. If we're someone avoiding impact, we have a step jack that is always a great alternative. So take that full step right and left. Get those arms moving still, just as big. Again, we're trying to avoid T-Rex arms, right? We want big movements for this one to really get that heart rate up. So yeah, that's our jumping jack station. All right, and our team builder. We're going to do a single. This one is great for, by the way, our agility, balance, of course, hand-eye coordination, reaction time. So all of that good cognitive stuff along with some balance. So it's going to be a single leg ball toss. Everyone in the group is going to get together in a circle. Okay, we're going to balance on one leg. Now I want you to try to not press the up leg into your balancing leg. But since we're going to be in a circle, so we won't have like a wall or anything to use to grab onto, if you feel like you need to press this leg into the balancing leg for a little added stability, go for it. That's fine. If you need to put your foot down a few times to catch your balance, that's fine too. We're going to be in a group doing this. Like I said, we're not going to be near walls or rats. So do what you need to do to stay up right. But we're going to balance on one leg. Most of the clubs have these old squeezy balls that are pretty weightless. Ideally, we have those. If not, I told the coaches to use their lightest weighted medicine ball. A lot of the clubs have like a 4 or a 5-pound medicine ball, something light. All right, and you're going to be in your circle, and we're going to toss it to whomever. We're not going to go in a specific order with the ball, so it's going to be kind of a popcorn toss. Okay, so that's the reaction time component of this. You don't know where the ball is coming from or who is going to be throwing it to you when. And 30 seconds on each leg, so you're balancing the whole time and throwing and catching a ball. All right, so this one's going to be fun. Let's give it a try. All right, team, that concludes week 9. Hope you have fun with, obviously, the whole workout, but I hope there's at least 1 or 2 exercises that stands out and you found enjoyable. So we'll see you back in week 10.